30 years ago, sharing a video with a friend was a lot more complicated. This had to be done by giving them a physical copy of a DVD or videotape. People didn't often take time to distribute homemade video, so the visual media that dominated pop culture was owned and circulated by big-budget networks. There were no internet personalities within the zeitgeist. When YouTube entered the picture, it quickly became a household name. Though, the success hasn't come without sacrifice. Despite non-stop growth since acquiring it, Google likely still struggles to find profitability for YouTube. In fact, YouTube's value to Google doesn't even come in the form of on-site advertising. The real reason YouTube is so useful to Google might help explain why real competition has been, largely, non-existent. However, YouTube hasn't made any major changes to the platform in years, and the tides might just turn in the favor of a competitor willing to innovate. This video will cover YouTube's real value to Google, the many investments I think YouTube should be making, as well as identify the tech rivals that may be able to beat them to it. It all started with humble beginnings, above a pizza shop in California. Founded by 3 former PayPal employees, YouTube was created to make online video sharing a more accessible and social experience. YouTube wasn't the first place on the internet to store and share digital video, but it did focus on one key difference: user-friendliness. With its mass appeal and perfect timing, the growth was explosive. The company was founded in February 2005, and the first video to reach 1 million views was posted a little over a year later. By November 2006, Google saw its potential and acquired the service for just over $1.5 billion. In May 2007, the partner program was established, incentivizing the biggest creators by paying them for their videos. This was unprecedented territory. In August 2007, YouTube launched the first ads. With the majority of ad revenue going to creators, this allowed the platform to support those creators even more. Since then, the business never stopped growing, and the videos never stopped getting better. In the video space today, YouTube reigns as the undisputed king. Its parent company, Google, sits atop a digital throne of its own. Google and its subsidiaries take in 44% of all internet traffic. Nobody even comes close. Behind Google search, YouTube.com takes in the second most web traffic in the world. The service even has over 2 billion monthly active users. More time is spent watching YouTube every day than Netflix and Facebook videos combined. With over 1 billion hours streamed per day, video streaming in 2020 is as ubiquitous as cable TV and VCRs were in a previous generation. Looking at YouTube's popularity, viewers are clearly coming to the platform for a reason. Generally, people either visit to search for something specific or to watch videos in their sub box and recommended tab. These are the fundamental pillars that keep viewers coming back. They want to be informed or they want to be entertained. While often overlooked, YouTube is the world's second largest search engine. No other service has so much video stored. No matter how obscure it may be, YouTube probably has the tutorial you're looking for. Searches that start with the words "how to" are extremely common. As well as informative videos, YouTube is the perfect place to find entertainment. In fact, the most common searches are YouTube personalities and music. Whether you're searching, checking on your favorite creator, or scrolling to see what the algorithm has recommended you, YouTube has a strong content library to browse. Compared to other websites, YouTube.com has by far the longest visit duration. YouTube claims their average mobile viewing session is 40 minutes. That's leaps and bounds ahead of other social apps. A user base spending that much time on the platform is extremely valuable. For reference, TikTok claims their average visit duration is nearly 5 minutes, which is longer than both Snapchat and Instagram. With its impressive watch time, it might be easy to assume that YouTube has become what television once was, but the service has been far more than that for many years. YouTube is not a replacement for something that we know. It's a new thing that we have to think about, to program, to curate, and build new platforms. That was former Google Executive Chairman Eric Schmidt at a Brandcast event 7 years ago. At that same event, YouTube Chief Business Officer Robert Kinsel said something profound on the topic. "I thought YouTube was like TV, but it isn't. I was wrong. TV is one way. YouTube talks back. TV means reach. YouTube means engagement." With this sort of attitude about traditional television as far back as 2013, it surprised me when Google launched YouTube TV in 2017. YouTube TV isn't a reinvention, it's just a different television streaming service. It might have some nice perks, but it's still traditional network shows for a traditional network price. Just because television is often presented in a sleek and professional way, it doesn't mean it's the best choice. I think YouTube TV is a distraction for the company. The beauty of YouTube lies in its user-generated posts and two-way nature. For nearly 2 decades, YouTube has been operating completely uncontested. It's a video-centered social network that doesn't exist anywhere else, except maybe TikTok. While TikTok may be similar, it's short form and vertical orientation only, not an actual alternative to what YouTube offers. Why isn't there a perfect YouTube alternative? Why hasn't anybody been able to directly challenge YouTube? Surprisingly, the business model isn't likely profitable. Nobody knows for sure because Google refuses to disclose YouTube's profitability numbers, though the video service certainly isn't struggling to make money. In 2019, YouTube ads alone took in over $15 billion in revenue for its parent company. Google only started revealing the revenue earned through YouTube ads in Q4 of 2018, but has never revealed their profits, or lack thereof. The reason they don't want to talk about YouTube's profitability might be the same reason Apple stopped disclosing iPhone sales figures in 2018. Apple had been providing that information for a decade, but stopped when iPhone sales were slowing, arguing that they were no longer representative of the strength of the company's overall business. Maybe if Google thinks YouTube's ad business doesn't represent their strength, they wouldn't want to disclose those profitability figures. At a Fortune magazine summit in 2016, CEO Susan Wojcicki stated that YouTube was still in investment mode, suggesting it was struggling with profitability. 4 years later, in 2020, the Alphabet and Google CEO said on the Q2 earnings release,
"One thing I'd like to call out is our continuing journey to invest in and grow new businesses. We delivered strong growth in our non-ads revenues, particularly from cloud, Google Play, and YouTube subscriptions."
Just like Susan Wojcicki said 4 years ago, investing in and growing YouTube is still a continuing journey for Google. With over 500 hours of video uploaded every minute, hosting that content is tremendously expensive. When YouTube does make money on video ads, most of the revenue goes to content creators. Here's Alphabet and Google CFO Ruth Porat talking about YouTube's financials on the most recent 2020 Q3 earnings call.
So, look, in terms of YouTube, we are pleased with the ongoing momentum that you see in the revenue line. I think as we've talked to you about quite frequently in our ad-supported business within YouTube, we do pay out a majority of revenues to all of our content creators. We pay all of the infrastructure and networking costs. That's, for storing, for serving video, otherwise for running YouTube, and that includes marketing, supporting content creators.
On-site ads only cover the infrastructure costs, as well as creator payouts. If YouTube advertising isn't the reason Google wants the video service, then what value does YouTube add to the Google ecosystem? The new oil of the 21st century is data. YouTube Premium subscriptions might be what Google has its sights set on next for the company's growth, but the watch and search data YouTube gathers from its users have always been the real golden goose. It's a well-known fact. Google owns the 2 largest search engines in the world, and they use the data they collect from their users to sell advertising. If you have a Google account and use their services, they make money when businesses pay to advertise to you. The more data they have on you, the more valuable you are to their ad business because a targeted ad is always worth more. And so, YouTube is simply another tool Google uses to gather that data. If a competitor can't effectively utilize that data, then the business model isn't viable. That explains why competition has been meager so far. The data is useless to a company if they can't use it properly, and without the data, they wouldn't be able to scale to a size the likes of YouTube. So, if only the search and watch data make the business model viable, what other companies out there could utilize that data? The other half of the online advertising duopoly is Facebook. Facebook already announced years ago that video was their newest focus. Shortly after, they launched Facebook Watch in 2017. Since launch, the Facebook Watch platform has tried to be a lot of what YouTube already is: creator-focused and highly social. The biggest problem I have with Facebook Watch, it isn't a standalone service. It's just another tab on the Facebook homepage. Facebook claims that having their video sharing service directly attached to their social network is a competitive advantage, but I disagree. Facebook Watch doesn't feel like a YouTube alternative. It just feels like Facebook. Facebook as a platform is too broad to tack on a video service like this. It isn't good branding. I didn't know it existed until researching for this video. If Google had rebranded YouTube to Google Watch when they acquired it, it would have probably been a disaster. People have never previously gone to Facebook for their favorite creators, and simply attaching Facebook Watch to the social network won't make it much easier for consumers to attribute Facebook to quality video entertainment. It would be better if Facebook did something similar to what Google has done. Allow that one Facebook account could be used across all of Facebook's products, whether they were branded Facebook or not. I don't see Facebook as a serious threat to YouTube until the day they establish a new, separate video sharing platform. Twitch, arguably the best live streaming service, might be another contender. Twitch claims that users spend an impressive 95 minutes on the platform daily. Their average viewing session is just over 9 minutes. And just like YouTube, Twitch is owned by a much larger company with very deep pockets. Amazon has well over 100 million Prime subscribers in just the United States alone. The more consumer data Amazon gathers, the more effectively they can recommend items to those customers. For example, controversially, Alexa devices gather a lot of user data. User voice commands are recorded and sent back to Amazon, and Alexa searches are stored and analyzed. Like Facebook and Google, Amazon is a rare case of a company that could really utilize more watch and search data. Unfortunately for Amazon, not everything is going well for Twitch. Aside from advertising and DMCA problems, Twitch has always been criticized for having terrible discoverability and a poor VOD browsing experience. Despite these problems, Twitch has a lot of room to grow and the ability to make it happen. Twitch has an amazing community and is keeping the platform together. If Amazon were to take what it's learned from Twitch's mistakes and expanded the platform into browsable videos, it might have the best shot at being YouTube's biggest threat. With threats on the horizon, YouTube needs to be increasing its lead. YouTube doesn't have to force ads on non-partnered videos to make money. They could just add more value to YouTube Premium. Google stated that they continue to invest in and grow YouTube Premium subscriptions. This will be vital because as of right now, the offering doesn't provide enough value to the consumer. For $1 more per month, Amazon Prime offers much, much more. Here is the page where Amazon explains Prime benefits. Now here's the page for YouTube Premium. YouTube even repeats each one twice to take up more space on the page. There's a lot of great benefits YouTube isn't offering yet. Amazon Prime includes a free Twitch sub every month. Why not include a free monthly membership YouTube Premium subscribers could use? YouTube also has a movie streaming feature. Why not include some movies to be streamed free, similar to Amazon Prime Video? Even outside Premium, YouTube could be making several changes. Streamers on YouTube shouldn't be treated like a regular creator, and their channels should be treated accordingly. If a channel labels itself specifically as a streamer, their homepage could have a whole new setup, complete with an interactable About section, a chat box on the side during streams, and more. Google killed Google Play Music this year, and instead transferred the existing subscribers to YouTube Music. Interestingly, they didn't merge Google Podcasts with YouTube Music. In fact, podcasts aren't even supported. Why not merge Google Podcasts to YouTube Music? Memberships don't feel as well presented as Patreon. When I joined one of my favorite channels, I was surprised to find that they had been posting member-only community posts since they enabled memberships on their channel. When signing up to their channel, it didn't display locked posts like Patreon does. Membership pages should communicate the benefits of joining more clearly. These are just a few examples, but I think you get my point. The entire ecosystem should be more cohesive. I'll be going over all these topics in future videos. While investing in the platform, YouTube shouldn't lose sight of what grew it in the first place: the creators. For instance, unfortunately for them, Joe Rogan was poached. By the end of this month, Joe Rogan will no longer post to YouTube. When Spotify claimed exclusive rights to Joe Rogan, YouTube lost the world's biggest podcast show. This is a troubling thought for YouTube. As competitors grow, they could continue to steal big content stars and take away YouTube's biggest advantage. Creators are not to be ignored and should always be first priority. YouTube is not only a vessel for videos that entertain and inform, it gives people everywhere a voice. It has brought so much good to the world, but it has even more potential. To benefit its users, creators, and advertisers, YouTube should bolster its ecosystem and add more value to the platform. If YouTube slows down their innovation, they won't remain the leader forever. We'll just have to see what happens next for YouTube and find out if a competitor can topple their throne. Until then, YouTube is king.